I'm delighted to have been asked to come here today and talk to you about women returners and what we're currently doing at UBS for our Career Comeback programme. So my name is Fiona Pargeter and I am the Head of Diversity and Inclusion for the EMEA region, that's Europe, Middle East and Africa at UBS. And within the UK itself, we have about 5,000 permanent members of staff. We have an equivalent number who are temporary staff as well. The organisation as a whole has about 60,000 employees globally. So I've worked in a variety of different divisions, functions and countries over the course of my 18 years with UBS. And during which time I've also had 2 children. So whilst I haven't had a long career break from the workplace, I have had 2 periods where I have taken time out for my sort of maternity leave. So I currently have a son who is 10 years old, and I have a daughter who is having her 9th birthday party this Sunday with the theme of unicorns. So I'm manically prepping for that. I'm also a chartered occupational psychologist, and I'm Associate Fellow of the British Psychological Society. So I'm going to talk for about 20 to 30 minutes and really share with you some of my thoughts, but also the programme that we've launched this year within the UK for returners. Then if at the end we could have some questions, your thoughts, your comments, experiences that you've had as well, that would be really great. Okay, so what I wanted to do was really set the scene for UBS as an organisation, just so you could see how it either compares or what elements of our organisation really relate to you in yours and could help you if you were to do something similar. So UBS is a financial services company. It provides financial advice and solutions to wealthy, institutional and corporate clients worldwide, as well as private clients in Switzerland. Now, the operational structure of the UBS group comprises of our corporate centre, and this is where a lot of our support functions sit, so HR, finance, legal, IT and the like. But we also have 5 business divisions, and they are our wealth management business, our wealth management Americas business, our personal and corporate banking, which is the retail arm of the organisation in Switzerland, and we have asset management and the investment bank as well. Now, the strategy of the organisation is very much centred upon its wealth management business, but also the retail arm as well in Switzerland. But it's very much enhanced by the asset management and the investment banking business as well. Now, this is something that has changed over the years within financial services for many companies, of which we are one, following that trend. So whilst we are headquartered in Zurich, in Switzerland, our workforce is truly global. So we have almost 900 offices in 52 countries. And as I said earlier, we employ approximately 60,000 employees. And that's permanent employees. We have approximately 30,000 temporary-based staff as well across the globe. So as this slide shows, we have about 34% of our employees who are based in the Americas, slightly more in Switzerland, 18% in Europe, Middle East and Africa, and 13% in Asia Pacific. And I just want to highlight here that for the purposes of our organisation, Switzerland is classed as a separate region to Europe. And that's purely because of the size of the operation that we have within the company. So some interesting sort of points and facts about our workforce. So our employees together speak more than 150 languages, and they are citizens from 137 countries. So we have quite a diverse range of nationalities and spoken languages within the company. The average age of our employees is 41 years old, and the average tenure is 9 years. But in Switzerland, over half of our employees have worked for the organisation for more than 10 years. You'll also see towards the bottom of the slide as well that for our combined workforce, we have 39% women and 61% male. Now, as is the case in financial services and other sectors and industries, the proportion of females decreases the more the more senior the level within the organisation, so that triangle effect. At our most junior level, we actually have more females within the organisation than men. We have 58% females. But as the levels rise and we look at the proportion of our females, when we start to get to the more senior ranks of director and above, we see the percentage fall to about 23%. And as we progress further, this also decreases. So because of this, and like other firms, we really have a particular focus on gender diversity and increasing the number of women within the organisation. And we are focusing predominantly in that senior end as well. So what are we actually doing about it? So just briefly, I wanted to share with you our CEO, Sergio Emotti, and his executive board have made a public pledge to increase the number of women within the organisation. Now, they focused on the management level. And what they have said is that they want to increase that ratio of women in management roles to 1/3. Now, there are many ways that we can do that. One of the things that we have introduced as well is how we measure and track the progress on that and share that data. But our execution strategy is really very, very simple. In order to have more women in leadership roles, we are focused on 3 things. There are 3 things we need to do. We need to hire more women. We need to lose less women. And we need to promote more women within the organisation. Now, all 3 of those levers need to be working together in order for substantial change and a shift in representation to take place. But today, I'm going to talk to you about our Returners programme. This is one of several initiatives and tools that UBS is using to achieve its aspiration, and it very much comes under the Hire More strategy. I also wanted to share with you just some external data as well. And for us, within financial services, this is particularly important, and I'm sure you will be able to access equivalent data for the industries that you're in. But according to the Office of National Statistics, there were 157,000 female employees working in the City of London in financial services and insurance in 1996, just over 10 years ago. And that was 46% of total employees that females made up. If we look even 20 years on, the number of females working in the city in those industries has reduced by 11,000. That's 11,000 females. And when we look at the proportion, females now represent 41% of city workers in financial services and in insurance. So, of course, there's been lots of changes over the years within financial services, and a lot of the workforce has reduced, but the proportion has gone down too, so we know there's something going on with our female population. So the question is, where have these women gone if they've left the city? So it could be argued that a proportion went into another industry, that they had left financial services or insurance and gone into another sector. However, it's also likely that a high proportion may have left and just not returned to the workforce. Some other interesting data, which is across all sectors within the UK, was published by PwC in November of last year. And they actually found there are 427,000 female professionals in the UK who are currently on an extended break and who want to return to work, either now or in the future. That's 427,000 females. Now, PwC also estimated that over £1 billion worth of potential earning gains for those professional women would be addressed if that career break penalty didn't exist when they return to work, if they are able to return to work. So for UBS and for your organisations, what an enormous opportunity to tap into this hidden treasure of talent. And for those of you who are currently on a career break, you are part of this amazing pool of untapped talent. So in order for UBS to access this pool, we created our Career Comeback programme. Now, this is in effect giving those who have taken a career break a platform with which to return to work without being judged for the gap on their CV. It is also the only hiring initiative that brings more women into the UK workforce rather than taking them from a competitor or another organisation. Now, what we also have to understand, and one of the things that we realised before we did our Career Comeback programme, was that we ultimately want to retain our women within the organisation. So as I said, we have 58% at the lower levels who join us. But there are some reasons why women leave organisations that makes complete sense for them at that time. We cannot retain everyone. But what we have found when we've spoken to people is that often women will leave an organisation or leave the workforce for an extended period of time, believing that they will be able to get back into the workplace quite easily and quite legitimately. But what we've also found is that doesn't happen, and it doesn't happen often. So for us, creating this programme, we hope really does legitimise the fact that they've had a break and it's not going to prevent them from going through that initial sifting of CVs. The break itself is actually very interesting, and we're fascinated by the sorts of breaks that we see in the people who've applied to our programme as well. So I wanted to share with you today an overview of the programme that we actually have at UBS. So it was launched in September of last year as a pilot in Switzerland and the Americas. And really the programme aims to target skilled and experienced professionals who want to restart their careers after an extended break. Now it focuses mainly on women, but it's also open to male candidates as well who have taken a break. And we launched it in London this year as well. Now to be eligible to apply, we've set some criteria. You need to have had a career break of 2 or more years. You want to return to work, and actually that can be full-time, but it can also be on a part-time basis. And from an experience perspective, we really would require someone to have 5 or more years experience working either in financial services or a very similar or relevant field, and being deemed to be an expert in the role that they'd previously had, or a team leader or a manager. Now, our programme is slightly different. So typically, when you think of returner programmes, there are 3 different sorts. There's the low-touch confidence-building events that women are invited to come along to find out about a particular organisation, but also to boost their confidence to start applying for roles. Then you have the internship-based programmes, the project-based, the temp positions that are for a fixed period of time, and they aren't permanent roles. And then you have direct hire programs, which are the rarest ones. So if I put aside our US program, which goes with the more traditional internship piece, our Career Comeback program in the UK and in Switzerland, our returnees are hired into regular, open and permanent positions. So this, for us, is a differentiator compared to our competitors. What we find with internships is that typically the conversion rate is quite low. So we wanted to be different, and we wanted to say that when someone applies for the Career Comeback programme at UBS, they are applying to a permanent position from day one. So the candidates apply to the programme, and when a potential role match is made, they will go through the same recruitment process and interview process as other candidates who are also applying for those roles. So they will be pitted against other internal and external candidates who haven't had a career break. The other piece around the work that we're doing is that we are really focusing on our senior hires for our returner programme. So we really are looking to fill senior positions. So the candidates that apply will be applying for roles that are director level or above. And then the other thing that we do as well is we have a very comprehensive support structure in place, predominantly for the first year, and we base it on an academic year of September to July, where the returnees are part of a class or a cohort of people who go through that programme together. So they all have their permanent roles, but they are also doing things together that creates that network, that contact, and that support system that will really help them during that first year. They also get a 2-week onboarding program, which is very different from our non-extended break hires that we have within the organisation, where typically they attend a morning session to get them up to speed on certain things they need to know about the organisation. But for our program, we felt that some of these individuals have been out for over 10 years and that they really needed to have a little bit of extra support and guidance on how to navigate within the organisation. But it also covers a whole host of other elements as well. So the 2 weeks onboarding happens just prior to them starting their roles. They also have a mentor that they are involved in choosing as well. They attend coaching circles throughout the 9 months with their other career comeback participants. And we have set up also a buddy system which ensures that they can easily transition into their role and into their teams. But we don't stop there, because we also know the importance of line manager support. And this is one of the pieces of feedback that we had gathered from the pilot last year in Switzerland. So what we now offer is an executive coaching-led training session with our line managers, which happens at the same time during the 2-week onboarding that the participants have. And there's also an opportunity for them to have further coaching if required throughout that first year as well. Now, I won't take too long on this slide, but I just wanted to provide an overview of the kinds of things that we cover within the 2-week onboarding that makes it different from just anyone starting a job who's already, who hasn't had a break. So we focus on personal brand for those individuals. We really get the individual to ask what's their unique contribution to the organisation, what do they bring? And really this is about them feeling confident that they have something to add to our organisation. They would have been through quite a complex interview process. They would have beaten others to that position who haven't had a career break. These are amazing individuals that we are hiring, but we need to make sure that they know that and they feel confident with that. So it's also about them recognising their strengths and the value that they bring. So we have a lot of personal reflection that takes place within those 2 weeks as well. The Navigating UBS. So this, I think, would be useful for anyone joining any organisation. But really it's to answer those questions about how do I get things done here? What are the key strategic drivers of the organisation? And how do I build a strong network once I'm here? But it also looks at how do I build my future career as well. Then we have delivering excellence. This is very important for those returners that have roles which are regulatory within our organisation and the changes that have taken place during that time. So it's bringing them up to speed on what's the current state. And the technical refresh. So if you think about someone who's taken 10 or so years out of an organisation, even 5 years out of an organisation, technology has moved on dramatically. So we want to ensure that those individuals are up to speed with the current technology that we use within the organisation. But also, what we found is very useful is that we provide them time within those 2 weeks of onboarding to complete online training, which is required as part of their roles. So this means that once they start their jobs, they can hit their desks running and they can really not have to worry about completing hours and hours of this additional training that's required. And then finally, the successful and managing that successful transition piece. It's really working with our returners for them to put a plan of action into place for those first 90 days. How are they going to cope? How are they going to manage during that time? But also to look outside of what do I need to be and do to be successful within UBS, but what do I need to do within my life outside of UBS to be successful, and what support do I require outside of the organisation as well? And then I mentioned before, we also have the coaching circles that are run and the mentoring and buddying program piece as well. So that's me talking to you about the program that we run. What I wanted to now share with you is the voice of someone who joined our program last year in our Swiss location, because actually it's quite insightful when you hear from someone who's been through that and who is now a member of our organisation. So this is Denise.
took a 2-year break, and during these 2 years, I focused on my family. I knew that I wanted to come back to work. I miss the professional challenge while I was away. I still remember when I first decided to go back to work, my kids asked me, "Mommy, why did you decide to go back to work?" And I told them, because I enjoy it. This has been a big change in my family life with me going back to work, but it has been a really positive change. The kids now have to learn to do a lot of things on their own because they realize that mommy is no longer available 100% to do everything for them. I think one of the biggest challenge I would say is just for everyone to get adjusted to the new routine, because a routine, especially for young kids, is really important. It took a while for the kids to get used to it, but I think they adapt quickly, and now we are all settling well into the new routine.
So kiddies, can you bring me your backpack, please?
I decided to take a career break after my third child was born. At that point, reached a phase where I should really focus on my family. So I took a break from my career, and as the kids got slightly older, I knew that I wanted to go back to work. 15 years of work experience with an MBA, with a CPA, and not wanting to work 100%. So it was quite challenging for me to jump back to work, even though I really wanted to, until I came across the UBS Career Comeback Program. As a business manager for group operations, my responsibility is to support the team on their day-to-day tasks, which include forecasts, headcounts, financial analysis, compliance, and HR topics. The onboarding program as part of the UBS Career Comeback was extremely helpful, insightful, and meaningful. It gave me the confidence necessary to believe in myself, to set the right expectations, and have the confidence to jump back into my career.
The program is very well organized. If I look back when they started mid of September, they got the training, they got education, they made all the mandatory trainings. They arrived at October 3rd, and they started like they have been for years within UBS.
So there are 15 of us who are in the program, and we are constantly in contact. It's so wonderful to be in an organization where you already have a network of people where we continue to have contact and communication with each other. So if anyone is considering the UBS Comeback Program, just go for it.
Okay, so that was Denise, who joined our Swiss Career Comeback Programme last year on a part-time basis. And the great thing, actually, our pilot last year in Switzerland, we've had 100% of people remain. So all of the women who joined last year are still at the firm, so that's a plus for us. So I wanted to share with you some of the outcomes so far that we've seen, and including what we've been doing in the UK as well. So we've realised that this is a huge thing to offer individuals who've taken the career break. And, you know, this year alone for our programme in the UK, Switzerland and the Americas, we had 4,800 applications. And that's resulted in 40 hires across those three locations. Now, within the UK specifically, we had over 650 applications for our programme. Now, within the UK, we are one of the smallest. We are smaller than Switzerland. We are smaller than our Americas region as well. But we still had 679 applications for the programme. Now, from those, not all are eligible. So we found that even though we had that criteria set, some people were applying who actually didn't meet that criteria. And that actually also included people who were currently working at other firms. So we're learning from that now to be very explicit into what that criteria is. But what we did find from that group within the UK is that we had over 190 potential matches. So that meant that those individuals, they were eligible, they had the right level of experience that would work for us at UBS. But we're matching to actual roles. We want to offer people permanent roles. We don't want to just say, come and work with us for 3 months, see how you like it, let's see how we like you. We wanted to offer them permanent positions. So from those 194, we had 7, almost 8 hires that we now have within the UK specifically. So this just shows you that when you're doing it to permanent roles, you have to get the right person for the job. And the 7 individuals that we have, and hopefully 8, are amazing individuals, highly talented, skilled individuals, and we are delighted to have each and every one of them with us. The other point I wanted to highlight as well for here was that the assumption going into this is that the majority of those individuals would ask to work part-time. But actually what we found across the UK and Switzerland, where it's a permanent hire, that wasn't the case. And currently within our UK cohort, they have all come back on a full-time basis. Within our Swiss cohort, they have more individuals working over there as part of Career Comeback. They have over half who have come back on a part-time basis. So it's quite interesting to see how that changes as well. And also to see whether that changes for us in the UK next year when we have our next cohort that joins. Now, when we think about the reasons for the career break, the primary reason always given is due to childcare and family. But actually what we found is it wasn't always the case. Even within the UK, less than half of our intake have children. What we did find is that elder care came up across the whole cohort. Others took time out just to take time out and away from the industry. Others took time out to study and do a PhD. So there's a whole multitude of reasons as to why people take career breaks. The other point I've put on here, it wasn't only women either. So interestingly, within the UK, we also have a male participant on our Career Comeback programme who did take 3 years out. Last year within Switzerland, we also had a male participant. And I think, the reasons for doing this programme is that, of course, we want to get more women within the organisation, but we're not going to exclude a man who meets the criteria for having a career break and also finds it difficult to get back into work. The other piece on this slide I wanted to share was that another assumption that was often mentioned was that, they'll take any job. They'll be so desperate to come back, they'll take any role at any level, and that'll be fine. But actually, that wasn't the case. These are highly skilled individuals. They negotiated. They negotiated on pay. They negotiated on particular roles. Some roles were declined because they weren't senior enough to match their skill sets, so they were then put through interviews for other roles and other positions. So this isn't the case at all. And then the other piece I wanted to share was around engaging stakeholders. So many different teams and individuals are involved in programs of this nature, and you have to engage them all. And this includes the potential line managers, so those hiring managers, the recruiters, everyone within HR, senior leaders. It can be challenging when you're focusing particularly on bringing in people to a senior level position. And convincing a hiring manager to hire someone who's had 2 to 12 or 13 years out of the organisation rather than someone who is currently working down the road at a competitor can be challenging. So, just to close, before we open up for discussion and questions, I wanted to reiterate something I said earlier about having a career comeback programme. You really are increasing the talent pool available, not only to financial services, but to the UK workforce, because you are employing people who are currently not engaged in employment. So you're not taking talent from another organisation. You're not taking the best female talent within your competitor's organisation. You're getting the best female talent in this other pool that you haven't even previously thought about. The sponsorship from the top. So this, for us, I think is why it has been successful. Our group CEO, Sergio Amotti, has made gender diversity a strategic priority, and he is personally interested in the Career Comeback programme. So this has very much helped us get to where we are today. But don't forget the line managers. Now, this is something, again, I mentioned that came up from our Swiss pilot last year. Coaching and supporting the line managers is so important because they are absolutely key to making the transition from someone taking an extended break back into the workforce a success. Without the support of that line manager and their team, it won't be successful. And for us in the UK, it will get easier, and we hope it will get easier. I think the first year doing something, you are new to it, you're learning what you need to do, what you need to change going forward. And I think for us as well, is that once other managers and other teams see how amazing the hires are that we've brought on board, they will be wanting and asking us, where are the career returners? We want someone within our teams moving forward. And then I just want to end on really a call to action, because UBS alone is not going to fix this issue. So really it's for all UK-based organisations to tap into this amazing pool of talent, this 427,000 females who want to return to work either now or at some point in the future. Because together, I think we can then make that difference and increase the number of women we have within our organisations. So that's it from me. So if anyone's got any questions, discussions, or experiences they want to share. Oh, yes, one over there.
Hiya, I'm Emma Selway from Grant Thornton. I just was interested to understand what sort of challenges were raised by the sort of the people that are recruiting those people into the roles, and how you sort of address those challenges.
Yeah.
That's it.
Thank you. So our recruiting colleagues, our recruiting function, were fundamental to making this a success. Our first issue we thought we would have, but we didn't in the end, was actually attracting people to apply to the programme and getting the right people to apply. But that was fine, so that happened. Where we found some of the challenges from a recruitment perspective was the fact that the roles were senior positions. So had we lowered the level of the roles, it may have been easier to fill more positions with individuals returning. It would have also been easier for the recruiters to convince managers to take someone on. So they were probably two of the challenges. But for the recruiters, they did an amazing job, because they really had to convince those managers to hire an individual who's taken a break compared to the other person they were interviewing who hadn't, and to really show that that skill set that individual had was far better and far greater, and they'd be more successful in that role, even if they had had a period of time out. So it's the convincing part. And for us, the recruiters that we worked with had to partner so closely with us and those hiring managers to ensure that they were getting those individuals hired. But it's hard, and it is challenging. And I just want to clarify as well, the reason why we have focused on senior roles is because our group executive board has mandated that we increase the number of senior women at the organisation. Of course, we have other initiatives working on other layers as well and for that pipeline, but if we want to really make a difference for senior women within the organisation and at management level, then we need to be bringing in more women at that level as well. Did you have a question? Yeah.
I'm Jo Frampton from Reed Smith. One of the things you said was that without the support of line managers and the team, the programme won't be successful. So how did you get the line managers buy-in, and was there any resistance initially?
Yeah, good question. So I think when we talk about managers and line managers, and we talk about people leaving organisations, we often say people don't leave the organisation, they leave the manager. So managers are important with anything you're trying to achieve within your organisation anyway. You can't convince everyone, and I think you have to accept that that's the case. What is key for us is that having that senior buy-in and support at the very start meant there was a reason why the manager had to take note of what we were saying and be interested in the programme that we were trying to achieve. But we also had to go through a process as well of not only having the support of our CEO, but then the management committees for all the different divisions. So we had to work our way through to get the senior support that then filtered down to the manager level for them to know it was important and something they had to consider. I think without that senior support, we would have found it very, very difficult to do that. But one of the other things that worked for us with the managers is we held an Insights Day a few months prior to the start of the process of interviewing. And we invited 50 women within the UK to come along to UBS and to hear presentations about the company, to hear about the programme, but then to have to attend a networking session where we invited managers within the UK and those that were looking to hire, but even those that at that point didn't have a role available, we invited them along and they met these 50 amazing, talented people who were interested in potentially joining UBS on the Career Comeback programme. And actually what we found is that the majority of those that we ended up hiring had all been to that Insights Day as well. So they were bought into joining UBS as much as we were in having them join us as well. Okay. Are there any other questions or comments? No? Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you.